Okay, it's 6 o'clock. We're gonna get started. Welcome, everyone. And I'll call the meeting to order at 6, and I'll hand it over to the Deputy Mayor, John Perrow.
Okay, the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne would like to begin by respectfully acknowledging that the land on which we gather here today is the Treaty 9, 1905 and 1906 territory, the traditional lands of the Indigenous peoples. As we work towards reconciliation, may we all live with respect to this land and live in peace and friendship with all of its diverse peoples.
Thank you, John. And we have one addition to our meeting, and that's the presentation of addition item 6.1. So if I can get a mover and a seconder to approve the agenda, moved by Councillor Dragos-Stanek, seconded by Councillor Peter Kistemaker. Be it resolved that council does hereby approve the agenda as presented. Those in favor? And that is carried. Declaration of pecuniary interest, declaration of conflict of interest. I have no paperwork on that, council. You can do that at any time throughout the meeting if such a situation arises. So we're off to item number 6.1, and we have a presentation tonight. And this presentation is Community Wildfire Resilience in Hornepayne. We have Yves and Etienne presenting, I believe both online, and Jeff is in the room with us. Good evening, nice to see you virtually in Hornepayne. Can you hear us all right?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. The floor is yours, and if you need any assistance, just let us know.
Excellent. Okay. Well, thank you, and I'm glad Jeff was able to make it. That's fantastic. Thank you for the invitation to Manuela and from Belinda. That's fantastic. I'll let Etienne pull up the presentation and share the present. Unless do you want us to do that from screen? Is that the easiest way?
Jen, what would you prefer? That they share themselves?
Yeah, you guys you should have the ability to share your screen.
Perfect. Okay, excellent. That's great. Okay, so let's we'll spend 10 minutes describing the concept, and we have a few minutes for questions. And but at any time, you're welcome to stop us in our tracks. We don't necessarily want to be this formal. So if you have any questions while we're talking, please don't hesitate to interrupt. And so first and foremost, my name is Yves Vivier. I'm the CEO of FRMG. It's just really a fancy title. We're a very small company, and we provide forest management services, analytical services, permitting, support, modeling of, for example, what we're going to be talking about tonight, which is a fire smart planning. And we are in the majority of the Northwest region. So that's who we are. We are about 30 employees and folks like Jeff that work with us on a contractual basis as well. I'll get Etienne to introduce himself, and then quickly Jeff, and then we'll jump in.
Yeah, sorry, I jumped the gun. I just went to the first slide there. Yeah, thank you, Yves. I'm Etienne Green. I'm a forester, as well as I work with Yves on business development and other initiatives with the company. Yeah, pleased to be here virtually.
And Jeff?
My name is Jeff Barton. I work with Yves and Etienne. I'm a professional forester, and I was the general manager of the Nevagami Forest on behalf of Hornepayne Lumber. So I've been doing that for about the last 8 years. I've met a few of you over the years, but nice to meet you in this context.
Yeah.
Thanks, Nick.
All right, Etienne, jump in.
Very good. Well, you can see right off the top we have this catchy sort of avoid this situation. So what we're here to talk about is effectively wildfire risk and mitigation strategies, particularly for the community of Hornepayne. It's literally a hot topic across anywhere that interacts with the forest, and you can see the trend is upwards. I think this is a fairly well established and known fact amongst others that are living in the forest and interacting with it on a daily basis, whether it be through smoke or other communities having to evacuate, whatever it may be. So we're in a situation here where we think with proper planning and mitigation, we may be able to do something about it. So just want to get everyone's attention that this is what we're talking about. We're trying to avoid a situation where a community like Hornepayne would have some sort of full-scale evacuation or interruption or economic hardship as a result of a wildfire, a significant one, a moderate one, whatever it may be. Concepts, pretty simple. Okay, we're going to talk about 3 main steps to getting there. The first part is really utilizing our tools that we have. As Yves said, we're a forest management company. We have an office in Hornepayne. But the first step is to assess and to predict where these events could happen as best we can, using wildfire prediction tools, risk association, fuel layers, that kind of thing. And that can help us then plan, look for areas of literally hotspots or pinch points or mitigation strategies that can reduce risks, whether or not that's fire break or vegetation management or fuel reduction, whatever that may be. So that's where the planning comes in. And then, of course, you can plan all you want, but you have to be able to implement that. And the idea is that if you do implement it, we can show a case where you're able to reduce wildfire risk. And that's value added. So that's ultimately in 3 simple steps what we're trying to do and what we're proposing. How do we do that? Well, there are tools available for projects like this. We've arranged it in 2 parts. The first part being more on the analysis and risk modeling side, some stakeholder engagement as well, community engagement as well, and some operational planning. So the common question is, well, where do you find the resources to be able to dedicate time and energy to do that sort of thing? Well, there's a few easy places to start. The first one is there's a $15,000 or up to $15,000 available to develop a community wildland fire protection plan through the Ontario Ministry of Natural Resources. You can get 100% of eligible activities covered through that grant, and that covers some basic wildfire mapping and planning action. It really just gets you in the front door. In order to get into some more advanced wildfire modeling and to plan out or investigate the potential value of a mitigation strategy, you got to get into some more sophisticated wildfire modeling, engaging stakeholders, and that kind of thing. So there are other programs available through the Green Municipal Fund of FCM, the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, that cover portions of these eligible activities, and we've listed them here. You can use the feasibility study grant stream to cover up to 70,000 of eligible activities. That, it's worth noting, feed directly into part 2, the implementation grant stream, where your feasibility study directly feeds into the implementation of that. So utilizing these 3 funds over multiple years, as well as some other industry partners or others, we think you can. There's ways that you can do this, and you could take advantage of these opportunities that could benefit Hornepayne. Yeah, jumping into this.
Did you want me to-
yeah. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Yves.
Okay,
I was just
so-
on a roll.
So no, that's good. We want to be efficient and following our timelines that we said we were going to do. So commit to our timelines. So grant structure, the way it would work is FRMG and Hornepayne, we prepare the proposal. We would do the heavy lifting on the proposal, but it has to be clear that the funding is to Hornepayne, and Hornepayne is the proponent. So that's very important. The Township of Hornepayne is the proponent, and then of course we have the contracted capacity to get the work done. So we would deliver the result. We're the agent to actually put the plan together and deliver the plan. We'd be looking for partners to contribute to the implementation. Obviously, there's a benefit not only to the Township of Hornepayne, but to the many industries that are that operate in Hornepayne or that benefit from the people that live and work in Hornepayne. So we would be reaching out to some key stakeholders depending on where we go with our analysis and our approach. So that's how we would structure the entire project to support it.
Yeah, basically, we'll do the work for you. In a simplified version. So how would we do that though? So this is a little slide on the fund allocation where it would go. So grant application. So there obviously is work involved in preparing these applications. We know what we know that is, and we would look at that as there'd be a certain amount of just effort on both of our behalfs. We would work with whomever at the municipality to prepare these grants. They do take work, and you know that's just something that we would have to get over. The first part. So if you remember, that's the community wildfire protection planning portion, as well as the feasibility study. The fund allocation. So in order to maximize, get the most amount of funding out of these targets, we would target a project in the, well, you know, up to or a minimum of 87,500. The reason for that is, you know, the community planning grant, the first one, the 15,000, that really just gets you started. Once you've started to, you know, do some stakeholder engagement or to produce wildfire modeling results, multiple scenarios, impact evaluation, it really does start to ramp up. But it still leaves a certain amount of, you know, based on the math, there's a balance of 2,500 out there remaining as in kind, which again, we can find ways to cover. It is really building up to the whole purpose of the project is to actually inflict mitigation strategy, to actually do something out of it, not just produce model results. That in that mind, we target, you know, $1 million plus, we would hope, that you could get that out of the funding stream. This is because obviously once you're, and it does depend on what the results of part one bring forward, what's the most value for money. But once you start maybe doing things like vegetation management or fire break or access considerations, you know, it will ramp up. So this is just an upper end of what the funding would allow. It's up to that amount of dollars. So we would target that amount. Yeah, and I'll just keep rolling into timelines. I think we're already kind of there anyway. How this would work is we'd have basically the rest of the summer and into the start of the fall to prepare these grant applications. So the community wildfire protection plan, those grants are due. That one is due at the end of September, and a feasibility assessment due later on in the fall, in December 15th. Now you'll notice in these timelines, the implementation part, the big ticket item, is due before the second part of the feasibility. It carries over year. So it may be that we have to do that in a subsequent year, but essentially the idea is here that over the summer and into the fall, we're working on our grant application. Then hopefully over the winter and into the spring of the following year, we're carrying out what we said we would do in that initial feasibility and plan production, bringing that into the fall of 2027. At that time, we'll have our model results done, the wildfire risk assessment completed, where we have identified targets and priorities for mitigation, and we can work on integrating that with industry partners or whomever else in the existing or the next FNP, which is a big part of how we see this working out, is being able to sort of piggyback or dovetail on other initiatives that are ongoing in the landscape. And that takes you into 2028 and beyond. So kind of ran through that relatively quick. I didn't want to just reread what was on screen. Obviously these can float around a little bit, but it's a rough timeline. And I think that takes us to as far as we wanted to get in terms of slide decks. I knew we wanted to, unless Yves has anything that I missed that you wanted to supplement or add.
I know
Um,
I rather spend some time listening to questions and answering
Yep,
questions.
exactly.
And if Jeff has anything to add too, please feel free, Jeff.
There's just one thing, can you go back just one slide to that last slide? So one of the things, Belinda, we're going into, a forest management planning cycle in a couple of years' time. So the implementation of all of this, we can work into what we're doing with the plan next time around. It can happen earlier, but if it gets integrated in the plan, and even so much the better. So things like the cut layout and location and species and all that. It falls into the plan.
It's a good point. Thank you, Jeff. So like Etienne said, we went through that fairly quickly. It's not a simple concept of wildfire modeling, but we could spend hours talking about it. But at least this is a first introduction to the idea. So any questions or comments or suggestions?
Okay, I open up the floor. Councillor Peter Smith.
So, is it working in the 5-year TMP or the AWS is what you're, like, when is the timber management of the 5-year agreement done or due?
Well, so I don't know if you heard that, you just asked me when the forest management plan is done. We're about the middle of the current 10-year plan now, so it
Okay.
finishes in 2031, but we'll start that in 2028. We'll start working that.
It lines up pretty good then.
But it lines up well.
Nice. Okay, thanks.
Further questions?
Yeah.
Councillor Perrow, go ahead.
So the idea was to incorporate it into the forest management plan, and I'm sure you're talking about Hornepayne lumber later, but, is that the best way to do it? Because I would almost be concerned that Hornepayne lumber would be, liable for anything that happens for a project like this.
So I'll start, Jeff and Etienne, and then you guys can jump in. So it cannot be incorporated in a legal sense. We could use the FMP as part of the part of some of the measures, the mitigation measures, but it's not, they're two separate processes, John, and as you, I know you know this really well, the forest management planning process. So they're separate and legally separate, but we can use and maximize the utility of the forest management plan to assist with the mitigation plan. Okay, so there is some overlap there, and we would take full advantage, like Jeff said, we'd take full advantage of the fact that the timing is ideal to bring in some of those other players and use the forest management plan to help with the mitigation measures.
Yep.
Does that answer your question, John?
Yes, it does, thanks.
Thank you. Further questions? That's the follow-up, Kim? Okay.
Yeah, sorry, unless somebody else has a
No,
question.
that's okay. Where you go?
I'm also, I'm assuming it'll be in the second phase, but at what point does the, public input come in?
So Etienne, that really good question. So Etienne kind of alluded to that really quickly. Essentially, and Belinda and I were discussing this as well. It essentially immediately, like as soon as we have, it's part of the feasibility study. We want community engagement, both from Hornepayne and any type of First Nation community around, and also like the major players, you know, those that have a stake in both the feasibility and the implementation or mitigation measures, to be involved right away, immediately. So notifications would go out on what we are seeking in terms of input. There'd be open houses. There'd be meetings face to face or with individuals.
Okay, does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you,
Okay,
thank
great.
you.
Councillor Stefanik.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I'm looking at financials. So the first part of it, CWFPP, there's no cost to municipality. I want to be really clear on that, right? So the second part that you have lined out, part one of your map plan, we would be covering, or somebody would be covering $2,500, correct?
That is correct. Yeah, that is
Either
correct.
partner or municipality.
Exactly.
Yep.
Or us through a relation through the process as well. We would have to find 2,500. That's correct, Counselor.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, I just want a follow-up question from that. Just reading, it says that it's 70% contribution grant. So there's 14,000 out of that
Yeah.
70 that's not covered. Is that a municipal requirement?
I can touch on that. The idea is if you're going to do part one using a combination of the 15,000, which is 100% covered for eligible activities, and then you want to utilize up to 70,000 of, which is the total available to complete feasibility studies. If you had a project to do part one costing 87,500, you are maximizing all of the funding sources to the most of the potential, leaving 2,500 that has to come from external sources, whatever that may be.
So just to clarify, Etienne, then you're saying that we can utilize that 15,000 to cover the 20% remaining of the second?
It's stackable.
It's stackable? Okay.
That's correct.
And then I
Yeah.
just want to follow up then further with this part two of the 1.25 million. That's where it's 70% of eligible activities. So I'm just trying to understand the breakdown of that 1.25, and then we got 250,000.
Yeah, correct. So if you have, there is up to $1 million available to cover eligible activities. So if your project is 1.25 million in total cost, all of which would be eligible, you could cover $1 million of that 1.25.
Yeah, I understand that, but the 250,000, it's remaining in kind or potential industry partner contribution. So what are
Correct.
your thoughts on how are we getting that 250,000? Because
Oh,
at the beginning, we clarified that Hornepayne is the proponent. At the end of the day, we're gonna hold the bag for any owing funds. And I wanna make sure that we have that in place. I'm all for this. Don't take my tone that I'm not for this. I've been for this for 7-8 years, so. But I just wanna make sure we're lining up so that we know what kind of funding we're gonna have to get or have.
so I'll start, but I'm gonna get Jeff to, because this is where Jeff shines more than I do on this stuff. But the general idea would be, Mayor, to get some large corporate sponsors tied to the balance or the in-kind, the potential partners. How we're going to structure that is, we haven't mapped that out yet, but Jeff has structured these types of arrangements before. But one of the key ones is around implementation. So and it goes back to Councillor Paroff's question, if for example, there is areas where we can have actual activities we could do, and we could build those in the plan, and they're going to cost, let's say, $100,000 to do one particular activity of the mitigation plan. And we can build that into the forest management plan. That would contribute to that red 250,000. That's one example of how we can deal with that in kind. Jeff, maybe let you jump in if you have other examples.
Sure, so a couple of things. One is, so there's a gap. That 250 is the right number to be thinking about. There's other sources, so I'm sure over the years you've chased Community Futures or FedNor or some of the other NOHFC. There's those types of opportunities, and even I've kicked some tires on other communities and haven't landed with FedNor funding but it fits in a lot of their criteria. Where we didn't quite get over the finish line was to make the connection between project like this and how it helps, in that case, how it helps business. That's what the focus for FedNor was at the time. But there's agencies and opportunities like that that can kick into the 250. And that's always one I found over the years. It's one of those things that they talk about being shovel ready, but you want to be ready when those funding opportunities show up, because this stuff's making the news, because the governments at different levels are starting to see there's some vulnerability to communities if they don't do this. The other thing, going back to the forest management plan, so we're all kind of dialed into that, is, and I'm not sure about this, guys, but with respect to the in-kind things like harvesting an area outside of town that will make sense to fit into that, John or one of his colleagues may need to cut an area of land as per the terms of the community of the plan. But if we can integrate this better so that the orientation of the block or the regeneration treatment afterwards fits what we're trying to do here, I'm not sure, but I suspect that would fit into some in-kind, whether that's coming from Hornepayne Lumber or from First Resources, so that work is getting done anyway.
And then the last, oh, sorry, I was just gonna ask, and Jeff doesn't know this because it happened today, but Jeff and I were bouncing around another idea, and I finally got a response back from NFMC. So the NFMC folks finally got back to me. I spoke to the vice chair this morning, and they would be really excited to see a presentation from FRMG and the Township of Hornepayne on this idea, and could potentially help with the funding as well. So
Yeah, if you could take some time, Yves, just to explain who NFMC is.
absolutely. Nawinginokima Forest Management Corporation is the entity. It's a crown corporation that manages a forest south of you. The PIC, the White River, and I'm missing one. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank. But anyways, there's three forests down south, and south of Nagagami, and it's Crown Corporation, and they have part of their overall strategy is to help communities with support around using their own, because they pay stumpage, but they get the stumpage back. They retain the stumpage fees into their own forest, and they can use that stumpage for particular projects such as this one. We have to make a request, but they would be very supportive. At least the vice chair and a couple of directors of the Crown Corporation would be supportive of this project.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Peter Kissmaker.
I just would turn into a comment now because that's just the answer to everything I was going to ask. If you look at the timelines, once it comes to, so the part one is stackable, so that's going to be basically nothing out of pocket. And then if you look at the timelines for part two, just like the guys were saying, I'm sure if you put amendments in or whatever, if you could jockey around the allowances of however many cubic meters coming into Hornepayne Forest, we can piggyback off of them, and there's your in-kind. At 250 should be covered fairly easy, because we're coming in at a good time with the management. Like, they just jockeyed around, and I bet you we can do this without coming out of our pocket of very little.
Okay.
We would agree. We would agree.
And this, like, the underlying, if I'm allowed to say, I think we're not naive to the fact that there's a $250,000 laying around to start implementing. Well, like, otherwise we would have used it already. So the whole concept is that we use co-benefits or other activities that are happening in and around that can or are going to be done anyway or could be done anyway to supplement this, and that the whole strategy is based off being able to piggyback or utilize those other activity streams. That's fundamental to the implementation strategy, which is Unfortunately, you can't really, we can't say exactly what those activities will be because it's part of the modeling and the feasibility assessment. So it may be that it's concentrated in one area of the forest, all the risk is there. We can go do, the strategy is different than if it's spread out and next to a rail line or that kind of thing. So we sort of, it's a bit of a narrowing path as we carry out the part one. But it is obviously contingent on there isn't this big bill at the end of it where just like you're expected to flip it. That we know that's not going to work.
Okay, thank you for that. When we're looking at making the fire break, if that ends up being the mitigation strategy to move forward with, which we're talking about, are there recommended distances away from the community that it should be? Like, do we know an estimate of where this would be around the community?
So that's really early to speculate on, Mayor. It would be it'd be very difficult for us to come up with an answer right now today on that. But and I'm not trying to ignore your question because that's always the number one question. Well, I'll give you an example. And Jeff and Etienne were involved in some panic reactions on how to deal with the 2018 North Bay 72 fire for protecting Elk Lake. We started to build a massive fire break, and what the fire break, it's not just the one fire break, it's multiple at different stage, at different areas, at different locations that will help you control a fire and slow it down, because what the situation is always, you're always in a situation where there's not one thing that will stop the fire. It's going to be multiple approaches to making sure that you can minimize that's why we use the word mitigate. It's because it's not a stop. You just can't stop it. It doesn't, when a fire hits one of those particular fire breaks, it doesn't just it just doesn't stop there. So the fire break works the following: you put a fire break where you take away the actual fuel and you separate it and you scrape it to the ground, but then you do a backburn. So then you've got two mitigation measures. And then you start a fire break further down. And then you look at changing the forest composition closer to town. So you see how there's multiple things that are going to happen, and not just fire break there's no doubt a fire break will be part of the mitigation measure, but it's not, that in itself will not stop a large fire from destroying Hornepayne. Does that make kind of sense?
Yeah, thank you for that. My concern about it is why I asked was just with public consultation and with snowmobiling and four wheels, and that those equipment uses becoming more and more used in our area, actually coming back when you talk about snowmobiles. It's is there any way that portions of any part of the break would be able to use double duty?
Yes.
That's
yes.
what I was thinking, because you're going to get those questions at public consultation. I'm thinking just between here and Manitowoc, wherever we have any mitigation areas put in place.
Yeah.
That might lengthen routes. So I guess my question is, can a fire break be dual purpose?
Absolutely. The short answer is yes. And it would be actually better, Mayor, if we did that, because first of all, there's recognition by the population and the stakeholders that it has a dual purpose. And so suddenly you elevate its value within the community. We want that. So as soon as you can double up on benefits. It is good because it achieves your objective of protecting the town, first and foremost. But then the most important part is increasing its value associated with the recognition from the from the community, the stakeholders that are using it, to say, hey man, this is great. We're actually traveling on a corridor here that is being used for a dual purpose. And that actually elevates the value of what we're trying to do. So what Etienne and the team would do is they evaluate the hot spots and where things are going, and then they would evaluate values, existing values. For example, roads, trails, core values from First Nation communities, from the town, from CN, anything that's important. And then we would try to incorporate those what we call stackable objectives.
Okay, thank you.
Problem.
Further
Good que-
questions for Spencer?
Really good questions.
So
Uh,
can I add to just what he just said?
Yeah, just, go ahead.
So how this got started was at our LCC meeting was, I brought up the fire break because of all the things that I've been seeing at the NOMA conference or whatever. So I brought that up at, the LCC and, I was saying I would like someone to educate us on how this actually works, and can you work with the community on it? Because I know they have fears of losing their trails and all this kind of stuff if you touch the bush around our community. So basically, Jeff got back to me saying that, like, we can work with you, it's no problem, so that's why we're here.
Okay, good, good. John, you got a comment or a question?
My question is a little different here. If we go ahead and develop a mitigation practice, how would that impact the community in terms of liability or insurance or something like that? Or what it?
You mean in terms of the liability, in terms of executing the work out of the mitigation plan, or does it improve your, does it reduce your insurance and your, like for the town and things like that? Is that what you're kind of leaning towards? Councillor
Yes.
Perry?
Yes.
Etienne, do you want to tackle this one?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a tough question. I haven't really looked into the details of home insurance policies when there are wildfire mitigation or steps or that are fire safe that have been taken. I know that is something that does exist. If you have taken these wildfire preparedness steps, maybe you are eligible for a lesser premium on your home. I think those are going to be largely based off of what you can demonstrate you've done on your own personal property. The scale of what we're trying to do here is really kind of a landscape level risk reduction and a likelihood of sort of a catastrophic event. Whether or not that would lower premiums, I really don't know. Probably not, to be perfectly frank. But at least we could live with our own analysis and knowledge that we've carried out any of the activities that we think we can to lower that risk and make sure that there's less disruption or whatever we can do within a fire season or within the year. So I guess I would put it in that context.
And also, the other thing what's that? Sorry?
Go ahead, Yves, it's all right.
No, I
You
was
just have
going to say, so we've the other piece is that I believe is important for the corporations, the large industries within or close to the community. So I'm thinking CN, I'm thinking Hornepayne Lumber, obviously us, which is important as well, but everybody else is the fact that they will be able to demonstrate to their insurance brokers that they have plans, they're involved in plans, and that's part of their mitigation measures as well. So there's no doubt that the mill has to describe to their insurance company how they're protecting their inventory in the yard and what options. And there is no doubt, because we have to do that just for simple stuff like putting a bunch of tree planters in the field. Like, how are you protecting or how are you reducing your risk of making sure you don't have a tree planter smoking while they're planting? So it's the same kind of concept. So all the work that we do will be able to be fed through that. And that's my plan right now, is to present it that way for CN and for Hornepayne Lumber and the other large corporation in the area to become partners with us on this.
You mentioned Hydro One too.
Oh, Hydro One, thank you. Yes, absolutely.
Okay,
And-
Councillor, just go ahead.
I think the biggest challenge is gonna be the education of everybody. Like, I just use, for example, our family cottage, my in-laws cottage. They did a cut around the small lake in 1978. And they left everything, they left a buffer. Now it's basically a fire zone. So nobody wants to see a tree cut. But at the end of the day, you could use White River as an example. That's what happens if you don't manage the forest properly. And you know, you gotta, that's what people are gonna be fighting against, but there's no choice. When you have an over mature stand, it's just inviting insects, and then after that, here comes the forest fires.
Yeah, that's a
Right.
good point. That's an excellent point, and it's on us, and we live that through the forest management planning process, right? The same type of concerns from stakeholders and the general public that, and that's a completely fair statement. Like, it's a completely fair concern. I don't think we hide from it. I think we were very transparent about this is what we're trying to do. And there's other options than just clear cutting. That's the other thing too. So that's why it's a little bit more expensive, and the implementation procedures are more expensive. You don't have to clear cut around the entire town for 10-kilometer buffer and say, okay, we're good to go. That's not happening either, right? Like, nobody's doing that. Nobody's proposing that whatsoever, because that has also negative economic impacts to the community, which we don't want to do. So, but you know, in the scenario that was just presented, I think there's things we can do there to mitigate to fix the problem. And so going back to the question from the mayor, there's things where there's places where we'll be able to put very, very clear, you know, bands of disturbances. But in other sections, it's going to be forest cover, it's going to be thinnings, it's going to be all kinds of other things. It's a combination of items.
Just one other question, I can't remember who mentioned it, is that some of the mitigation measures are what trees get replaced within the municipality that I guess they hinder fire. What are those species?
Ah, yes. Well,
Funny,
mostly deciduous trees like poplar and birch in your situation. So we would be focusing mostly on trying to bring a mixed wood condition as well, and I would say young to you know, immature to early mature stage is what we're looking for, and healthy. So somebody brought in insect infestations, over mature forest condition. So that's important. We don't want to take away the fact that that's not important. And we have to have some across the landscape. And Etienne talked about managing the landscape, which is really important. We can't ignore that either. But as we get closer to town and closer to the values and assets, I think what's really important is the mixture and really focusing on that healthy forest condition.
Okay, thank you for that. Any further questions from council? Okay, well, I want to say thank you so much for presenting tonight. We are going to pass a resolution and have a bit of a discussion moving forward. I think my gathering, I know my council pretty good. I think you have full support. So, but we'll have a discussion.
Okay.
And you're welcome to remain for that discussion and hear what we choose for the resolution.
Would you prefer if we stuck around to answer questions, or do you prefer if we?
I would prefer actually that you stay, and then we can let you
Okay.
know exactly how we're moving forward. It'll just take us a few minutes.
Okay, sounds good. I'll put myself on
Council.
mute.
Yes, thank you for that. Council, we do have a resolution on the floor. If I can get a mover and a seconder, and then we can open discussion. Moved by Councillor Peter Kistemaker, second by Councillor John Paroff. Be it resolved, the council receives the Community Wildlife Resilience and Hornepayne presentation from First Resource Management Group Incorporated. Be it further resolved that council, and these are the items that we have to decide upon, direct staff to work with FRMG Incorporated to prepare and submit grant applications related to the Community Wildfire Protection Plan, feasibility funding, and implementation funding, and report back to council as required. direct staff to review the proposal and report back to council with additional information or any grant application is submitted, or support the concept in principle and direct staff to continue discussions with FRMG Incorporated and potential partners with any commitments to return to council for approval or defer the matter for further discussion at the next available council meeting. So right off the hop, I'd like to discuss this tonight and have it off our agenda and choose the matter. So I'm gonna say item 4 is right off the table. And let's move forward. So I open up the floor for discussion. Councillor Dragon.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I have no problem with grant applications. I have no problem with part 1. I'd like to see on part 2 elaborated, some numbers where you're gonna get in kind. I mean, I know it's a global statement, potential industry partners, but I'd like to see where that's coming from.
Okay, yeah.
To me, right now, it's not clear. Thank you.
Okay. I'll go to Manuel and then Peter.
Respectfully, through the mayor, I may have a solution. There is a new allocated NORDS funding, which I believe would fit into this. That is not part of our budget because it was not announced at the time we did our budget. So worst case scenario, if we had to contribute and if we were able to stack that funding, we might use that.
Okay.
Keep that in the back of our minds.
Well, I think with what Councillor
Yeah.
Stefanik is suggesting, I think that would be great to come back to council with that future planning, that if we can't get the 250,000 in kind, that we have other solutions
We
to
keep
come
asking,
back.
I was talking about the up to 70,000 available, the second feasibility study portion.
Okay, Councillor,
I'm talking part 2,
part 2.
where the
yeah.
major dollar,
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
okay.
250,000, I mean.
Yeah,
That's crucial to our taxpayers. I mean, we
Yes.
have to have a plan, a map.
yes.
That I want to be clear, that I understand, and I'm sure everybody else wants to.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay, Councillor Peter Kistemaker, go ahead.
I totally agree with what Councillor Stefanik there through you, Madam Mayor, but yeah, definitely I agree with number 1 and like I was saying earlier, I really believe it's just in kind when they word it in kind, which is, it leaves it broad. So, you can interpret it however it benefits you, but it's just a matter of, I'm sure, reallocating. So instead of this block, you're gonna take out of this block, you got so many cubic meters a year that you're harvesting for or allocated to the sawmill. It's just a matter of jockeying things around, and that's kind of $250,000 pretty easy to pick up, I would think. Just readjusting where you're cutting and when you're cutting.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's what I really like is when they say it's in kind, that allows you to, it works with you.
Okay, thank you for that. I agree with you, Peter.
But I completely agree with Drago when he says $250,000, we don't want to be, but I'm very confident that that'll be covered.
Okay, Councillor Wanda, did you have something you want to add?
I'm for 1. I'm glad that we do have NORDS funding available. We have to do part 1 and part 2. I mean, part 1 for sure. We have to do that part. We have to know where we stand in all this. And then when it comes to part 2, then I think it'll probably fall into play. Am I right?
I think it's important. You have to do it stepwise.
Yeah.
Because the first thing says, forget it. It's a lost cause.
Yeah.
Didn't stop.
Yeah.
Some we like that.
Yeah. But we have to do part 1. We really do.
Yeah.
And after going to the couple of conferences I've been to and talking to people who have lost their homes and how their community is struggling, we got to do something. It's and see what happened in White River. That was scary.
Yeah.
It's too close to home. So
I agree.
I want us to do something.
Any other further comments? Councillor, sorry, CAO.
Thank you. For me, part 1 informs part 2. So at the very minimum, we should do part 1. And I think most of the questions and commitments that have to be met in part 2 will come out of that process.
Go ahead.
Just a comment too, just something that popped in, I'm thinking about, even at the next AMO meeting, if we were to get a delegation and bring it towards, to the attention of whoever it is, like just the councillors, the pair opposite talking earlier, about liability and insurance clauses and all that. You know, if we were to somehow, you know, it's like certain insurance companies have incentive programs that you know, maybe we can push, because I think it would be an individual insurance company, how they do things, but if we were to push for a mandate from the government stating that, you know what, these people that insure these homes, if the township that they're being, like, they're within is following these guidelines and trying to their best to mitigate potential forest fires or like limit the damage, that they should be able to give us a break somehow. But if we don't push at the provincial end of it, nothing will be done. They'll just the insurance company won't give back any of the money, basically.
I like your thought process. I like it.
Yeah.
I do have a concern about it. I would like to see the government reward communities that put the mitigation processes in place, especially when we look at our small community and the resources that we have around the table and the work that it takes and the collaboration you have to do to get this done. But my concern, Peter, is if we link it to insurance, I don't want any other municipality to be inadvertently punished.
Right.
Because they don't.
Yep.
And then our insurance rates don't go down.
Right.
Theirs go up.
Gotcha.
So I agree with you. I think we should go to AMO and talk about it and see what, like, there should be almost incentives put forward for municipalities to do this, to protect their assets, right?
Yep.
So I like the thought process.
No, it's
I
a very
just
good
don't
point.
wanna, yeah, cause I could see that. We're not gonna get our rates lowered. We're gonna, our neighbors are gonna be upset with us.
Yeah.
And I don't want that.
Thank you very much.
But I did do a friendly amendment to the first part. Oh, sorry, I'll just read what I have here. Just to add, I said, so we're all on board with option one. So it's direct staff to work with FRMG Incorporated to prepare and submit grant applications related to the Community Wildfire Protection Plan, feasibility funding and implementation funding, and report back to council as required after each application submission with updates. Does that work? Go ahead.
From my understanding, it sounds like council wants to authorize moving forward with the feasibility funding, but wait for the implementation funding.
Yeah.
So
No, I don't think that's. what
that's
council
part
wants.
two. The implementation funding is
Implementation
the
is part two, the
$1
$1
million.
The 250,000 is the implementation.
Yeah, the first two funding programs are the feasibility.
Okay. That wasn't I'm not worried about going forward with it all, but getting clarity on how we're gonna pay for it. Cause even if, okay, I'm just gonna put this out here. I think this is so important for our community that if we had to come up with the 250,000 to make it happen, it's just how do we do that? Like, I don't think it's gonna happen, right? Where we have people that are telling us and we'll have partners. But that's my feeling on it. But I do wanna figure it out, like Councillor Dragos-Vanek, I'm not gonna go down the dark alley with no preparation. Go ahead.
May I ask a question? So in the planning, the upcoming planning for the next, we've got, what is it, I keep calling it timber management plan, but, okay, the old way. But with the date of the lines, I'm just saying, like, to make our taxpayers may feel a little better, and even ourselves as the stewards of their money, can we show it in the planning that this is what we're gonna do? So we're gonna allocate 100,000 cubic meters out of this block versus this one, and that is gonna be the in-kind kind of, just to make it, that's gonna be a question that's gonna be brought up in the public hearings, and people, they wanna see it. They don't wanna just take our word for it. Is there something that we can show that we could do it?
So if guys, if you don't mind, I think the way I would tackle it, just consider it as the 3 steps, or maybe it's 4 steps. But before you get to that one, you start with that stage 1, get your toe in the water and kind of figure out where it is you want to go. When you get to stage 2, like all these things, the applications take time. Etienne put the deadlines for date. They always take longer than what you think, is my experience anyway. So let's say that pushes you into, I can't remember your dates, Yves, Etienne, but let's say you're pushed into the middle of 2027 before you're into for step 2. Right. You're redoing applications. then another leg, you're into 28. But before you really know what the roadmap looks like, and then I think you kind of walk that sort of thing out and say, here's what the game plan is, community. We're working on, like, you're trying to keep it quiet, but you don't have a lot of details early in that first stage, right? You don't know. But as you get through the second, you know, you may be going down the path with a bigger project, a little bit bigger budget, so people want to know what you're doing. Got some sort of conceptual framework, I guess. When you get to the third and you're talking about a bigger budget, a bigger project, then you want to really have those things hardwired in. Yes, the community is going to pass a motion, or you're going to pass your budget that has a line item or a bigger number than what it has been in the past. But this is how you've kind of got a source of revenue based on the work that Jen and Yves and myself have done to figure out if there's partners that can form that or other sources of funds to fill it. So I think you're right that those steps have to happen, but I think they come with the steps of Etienne's triangle.
Go ahead, Etienne.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to add to what Jeff just said there, like the feasibility funding and the implementation funding. Those are both FCM funding streams, and they are designed specifically to allow you to evaluate the feasibility of implementing this project that you have designed. So you can get to a decision point with that feasibility funding and get there and say, you know what, we can't do the implementation project, it's off the books, whatever. Or you've got to push it back. So you do have checks and balances along the way, which you can evaluate whether or not the implementation project can carry forward or continue, or maybe it's not 1.25 million, maybe it's 500,000, and in which case the proportion of eligible costs that are covered isn't 250, it's 125 or whatever. So that second part, the part two rather, you know, it is tied to the feasibility step in that I think FCM recognizes that in order to figure out what your project you want to implement is, you need resources to evaluate the feasibility of implementing that project.
Thank you for that clarity. I think I'm going to leave the resolution on the floor as stands with the addition that after each application submission, we have an update from staff. And then that way it's linked right to each proposal. So the feasibility study, which is with the FCM, and then into the bigger funds is with FCM. And then they see right off the hop, we're willing to go all the way. That's, you know, that's set. It's just going to take steps to get there, and whether we are successful in all of these applications as well, right? Was there anything that you wanted to add, Manuel?
I'm just rewriting this. So I think this will make more sense. So this is what I have so far. Whereas council has received information regarding community wildlife protection plans, and whereas council supports the development of a community wildlife protection fund and mapping fire hazard, and whereas council wishes to be informed through a feasibility study regarding wildlife risk modeling and analysis to engage stakeholders and create operational planning. Therefore be it resolved that council directs staff to work with FRMG Inc. to prepare and submit grant applications related to community wildlife protection plan feasibility funding and possible implementation funding, and report back to council on a quarterly or semi-annual basis, or as required, something along those lines. Because I think it's important to have those whereas statements that explain what it is you're wanting to do, and then the final statement is to the direction to do it. Okay. So I was trying to quickly write through this, but you were quicker than I was. So. Do you want me to keep writing?
No, that's fine. I think that's fine what you have. And then we add this.
I don't have it all written down. Where council wishes to be informed through a feasibility study, including a wildlife risk modeling and analysis stakeholder identification. That's what it is, really, stakeholder identification. And operational planning. Therefore.
And so you're just gonna add possible implementation funding in front of implementation? I think that would be enough.
Yeah.
And then it shows that we wanna go in that direction.
Two.
Okay, and our mover and seconder was Councillor Peter Kistemaker and then Councillor John Paroff. And if Manuel, if you can read out the full motion.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just writing this in so I don't miss it. Okay, so whereas council has received information regarding community wildlife protection plans, and whereas council supports the development of a community wildlife protection plan and mapping fire hazard, and whereas council wishes to be informed through a feasibility study, including wildlife risk modeling and analysis, stakeholder identification, and operational planning, be it resolved that council direct staff to work with FRMG Inc. to prepare and submit grant applications related to number 1, community wildlife protection plan, number 2, feasibility and funding, and number 3, if determined to be feasible, implementation plan and funding, and to report back to council quarterly, semi-annual, or as required.
As required.
As
sorry.
required.
Go ahead, John.
I just want to clarify, I like the idea of the whole thing. We should move ahead. In your statement though, did you say wildlife or wildfire?
I said wildlife.
Yeah.
So it should be wildfire.
So we're protecting wildlife. Do you want me to reread that?
No.
Okay. Okay, thank you for
I think
catching
we
that.
got the gist of it all.
Yeah, I did put wildlife.
Town burned down, we'll save money.
Okay. Is everyone clear on the motion on the floor? Okay, and I'll put that to a vote. Those in favor? And that is carried. Well, thank you so much for being at council tonight, virtually in Hornepayne, and Jeff in person. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we look forward to working with you.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Are you gonna be around for a couple
Thank you,
of
Mayor.
days?
Thank you, councilors.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Hornepayne Lumber Farm?
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure, I'm around,
Okay.
Harvesting.
Don't look into it.
Okay, so moving on, we're on to item number 7, correspondence action items. Item 1 is a request for review of provincial municipal fiscal framework. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Drago Spanik, second by Councillor John Paroff. Whereas municipalities, including the Township of Hornepayne, play a critical role in delivering essential local services and maintaining infrastructure that residents depend on every day. And whereas small and rural, northern isolated municipalities face unique financial pressures, including large geographic service areas, harsh climate conditions, limited economies of scale, higher construction and maintenance costs, and challenges related to remoteness and service delivery. And whereas municipalities are increasingly contributing to areas that intersect with provincial responsibilities, including housing, social services, emergency response, and certain capital and operational obligations, placing added pressure on municipal resources. And whereas municipal revenue tools, particularly property taxes, are limited and do not adequately reflect the realities faced by small and northern municipalities with low assessment growth and a limited tax base. And whereas the Township of Hornepayne must continue to invest in and maintain critical infrastructure and services, including roads, bridges, water, wastewater, emergency services, recreation, and other core municipal assets, despite rising costs and limited revenue options. And whereas northern and rural municipalities often face disproportionate infrastructure and service delivery costs while having fewer opportunities to generate revenue compared to larger urban centers. And whereas the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, AMO, and the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, FCM, have identified the need for a more sustainable and better aligned municipal funding framework that reflects the realities of modern service delivery across Ontario, including in northern and rural communities. And whereas the long-term financial sustainability of municipalities is essential to maintaining service levels, supporting local economic resilience, protecting affordability for residents, and ensuring small communities can continue to thrive. Therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne requests that the Province of Ontario, in collaboration with AMO, FCM, and municipal partners, undertake a comprehensive review of the provincial municipal fiscal framework with a view to strengthening long-term sustainability and better aligning municipal responsibilities with available funding tools. Be it further resolved that this review consider opportunities to better align funding responsibilities with municipal service delivery expectations, recognize the unique financial and operational realities of small, rural, northern, and isolated municipalities, explore sustainable revenue tools and funding mechanisms that reflect the infrastructure and service demands placed on municipalities, and support a funding framework that protects affordability for residents while ensuring municipalities can maintain critical infrastructure and core services. Be it further resolved that the Province of Ontario be encouraged to continue working collaboratively with municipalities to ensure that funding frameworks remain responsive to community needs, infrastructure demands, and the unique circumstances of northern and rural communities. Be it finally resolved that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to the Premier of Ontario, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, the Minister of Finance, the Minister of Infrastructure, AMO, FCM, Bill Rosenberg, MPP for Algoma Manitoulin. Any discussion on the motion, the support motion? I want to make a friendly amendment to it, actually. I would like them to, I'm not sure where we would put this in yet, but when we do these revamps of frameworks, it costs money and it puts a lot of pressure on small municipalities' time because they look to us for evidence and data, and then when we're asking for further support, while this goes on, we get less support. So I'm not sure where we can put that in, that we need funding, like we need support while creating the framework as well, if they were to do it. I don't mind if we put that in the letter that we include with this to them, or if it would be more substantial being within the resolution itself. And I do realize we don't have we only have one for AMO, so we would want to get it out before then. And I look to your expertise, Jen.
And that's not within the fourth bullet of support of funding framework that protects affordability to residents.
Not really, because it's more sinks in that
The
well,
actual
they do all
process.
this, yeah, well, they do the process. It's hard on us. Like and they expect that, you know, like even just sitting on committees and stuff for the province, which we want to do, but it takes time away from your own municipality, your own, like there should be a bump up then for the municipality.
So I'm wondering, would you like to include a letter with this resolution that kind of breaks that down further, and then we can include it on the agenda as information only next meeting?
Yeah, if that works.
That way we can make sure that we're capturing it properly rather than.
Are you in favor of that, council? Or would
Yeah.
you like it included in the motion? We're good? That'll, okay. You're understanding what I'm saying, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
100%.
that was a good point, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just nervous I can't adequately capture it.
No, let's
In
work together on
wording.
that and then we'll send it off and then we can take it. I see them moving on it and pushing it and it ends up being actually more the staff than anyone at this table, like other than the staff, that's gonna have to do the extra work.
Oh, I fully agree, and that's essentially why I'm hoping, like, why with a letter, I'm not great on the spot with wording. And I feel that we can come up with substantially more compelling and strong wording if we take time.
So it's some
Okay.
kind of compensation for the efforts coming from the township.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. They should be, like, if we're gonna go into any sort of consultation or dialogue, or we're gonna build a framework, yeah. Municipalities that participate should get a bump of facts to help with that, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, I put this motion, support motion to a vote. Those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, Jen, I'll let you read the next one. I'll get you moving or seconder. Moved by Counselor John Paroff, second by Counselor Peter Kistemaker.
Whereas, sorry, allergies are hitting hard. Whereas the Board of Trustees of Durham District School Board has called for a province-wide consultation process before any governance changes are made that could eliminate elected school board trustees. And whereas the elimination of school board trustees would represent a significant change to Ontario's education governance structure with potential impacts on local representation, accountability, and public confidence. And whereas school board trustees provide an important democratic link between local communities and the public education system, particularly in rural, remote and northern municipalities where local voices must be meaningfully reflected in decision-making. And whereas changes of this magnitude should not proceed without transparency, evidence-based review, and meaningful public consultation. Therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne supports the request of the Durham District School Board that the province of Ontario undertake a comprehensive province-wide consultation process before making any changes to school board governance, including the potential elimination of elected trustees. Be it further resolved that council supports a review by the Ontario Ombudsman of the potential impacts of removing school board trustees, particularly with respect to fairness, openness, transparency, and accountability. Be it further resolved that council urges the province of Ontario to ensure that any future governance model preserves strong local representation and reflects the diverse needs of communities across Ontario, including rural, remote, and northern municipalities. Be it finally resolved that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to the Premier of Ontario, the Minister of Education, the Ontario Ombudsman, the Durham District School Board, AMO, and Bill Rosenberg, MPP, Algoma, Manitoulin.
Okay, any further discussion? Go ahead, Counselor.
Yeah, that letter from Durham is dated March 26, 2026. My understanding, the Ministry of Education will not limit any trustees. They will water down their powers and strengths, especially the public school trustees versus the separate school trustees. There'll be no elimination of trustees, to my understanding, after 2 weeks ago in the public system. However, the Minister Calandra was still in the process taking over the boards that he feels that failed in his eyes, financially, otherwise, he'll be still doing the takeovers he was doing to 4 boards so far. That's so I understand this is a little outdated, that letter, because the trustees will still be there, elected in October this year. But we can still go forth. I mean, just want everybody to be aware of what the latest status is.
Okay,
Thank you.
do you know why there was a delay did we just receive this? Yes?
Okay. I'm not,
I will clarify, so I didn't get it directly from the Durham District School Board. When I get support resolutions that are from other municipalities that just say, be it resolved that we support it, basically, I grabbed the original document to bring to our council meeting, instead of just including a bunch of support. So that's why I went back to that original agenda from I don't remember which municipality sent it. But I went to their original agenda and found the original document.
That's right.
Oh, thank you for doing that. I appreciate
That's all
that.
good.
Yeah,
Do that for all.
yeah. Okay, so, and that, I think it was Wawa, right, if I remember?
Yeah.
Wawa was the one that
Mhm.
sent it? Okay, I'm okay to pass it
Yeah, that's fine.
and, send it off.
Yeah.
Those in favor? And
Okay.
that is carried. Okay, moving on to Highway 11 and 17, rest stops and service areas. I'll do this one, you can do the next one, okay, Jen? I'm gonna tackle these. I was like, welcome back. Thanks. 4 pages of reading. Okay, if I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Counselor Drago, seconded by Counselor Peter Kistmaker. Whereas highways 11 and 17 are critical transportation corridors that connect northern Ontario communities and support trade, tourism, emergency response, essential services, and economic development. And whereas the Township of Hornepayne is a remote northern Ontario municipality and its residents, businesses, visitors, commercial drivers, and emergency services rely on safe, accessible, and dependable year-round highway infrastructure to travel to and from the community and across the north. Whereas many stretches of highways 11 and 17 lack sufficient rest areas, washroom facilities, truck parking, warming centers, fuel access, and safe pull-off locations, particularly in remote areas of northern Ontario. And whereas inadequate rest stop and traveler infrastructure contributes to driver fatigue, safety concerns, reduced accessibility, and challenges for tourism, commercial transportation, and emergency travel. And whereas improved traveler services along northern Ontario highways would benefit rural and remote communities, including the Township of Hornepayne, by enhancing safety, supporting economic activity, and improving the travel experience for residents and visitors alike. Therefore, be it resolved that the Council of Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne calls upon the Government of Ontario and the Government of Canada to prioritize the development of new and upgraded highway rest stops and traveler infrastructure along highways 11 and 17 across northern Ontario. Be it further resolved that such infrastructure, including year-round washrooms, safe parking areas, commercial truck parking, warming shelters, electric vehicle charging stations, fuel access, tourism information, and improved emergency communication services where feasible. Be it further resolved that the Province of Ontario work collaboratively with northern municipalities, Phenom, NOMA, Indigenous communities, and industry stakeholders to identify priority locations for investment. Be it further or finally resolved that this resolution be circulated to the Premier of Ontario, the Minister of Transportation, AMO, Good Roads, Phenom, and NOMA. Any discussion on the motion? Go ahead, Councilor Smack.
And the junction of 631 North and Highway 11 on the right side. I thought that was gonna be a rest stop. That's where I heard about a year and a half ago. Does anybody have more information than I do?
So can I elaborate on
Yeah,
that?
go ahead.
In the map that's included in, the transportation
Mm-hmm.
thing that we're talking about tonight, it shows there's something going right on the corner and the rest stops on there, but it doesn't talk about them.
That's correct, yeah,
So it
There was no
certainly
mention.
caught my attention.
yeah,
So what's going on there?
there was no mention, I agree, yeah. Cause they cleared it 2 years ago. The land area.
Any other further discussion? Anybody else know what they're doing with that or why it's included there?
No, I was gonna
Go
say,
ahead.
I thought that was private land.
All I know is that map shows,
Yeah.
it's interesting.
It was supposed to be there, so I understand.
Yeah,
I'm not sure about the land issues and everything.
well, I would have thought if the government's putting rest stops, it'd be on crown land and not buying a piece of private land. I could be wrong, I just always thought it was private, that's all. That's my comment,
I don't see
but
the
yeah.
map.
Oh, I can find it for you.
It's a quandary. It's a quandary.
It wasn't included in the agenda, or it was?
This is under the Ministry of Transportation, the
Yeah.
MPO map.
Oh, okay, I was like, I missed the map, I'm looking for it.
No map to mess, you're okay.
Okay,
You lost your
okay.
compass, it's okay, don't worry.
Well,
about it.
I think we should, we do have those regular meetings with the MTO. So if you can get me the map, I can bring it up at that meeting and say like, what's going on with this? Why is it
Yeah.
there? So just shoot it to me in an email or wherever you're getting it from.
Yeah, I did see that, actually, yeah.
And, we can get that figured out. Okay,
There you go.
I was like, man, my first day back, I'm like missing stuff and I know where I am. Yes,
Before we move on to the next item, I just want to mention. So I didn't actually get the last item from Wawa. I was pretty sure I didn't, but I wanted to confirm before I
Oh,
said that. They were just, I got it from Southern Ontario, got it from Pickering. But I saw Wawa's resolution and so I just included them, but I just wanted to clarify. Wawa did not send it super late. It was Southern Ontario.
We'll blame one.
Yeah, I was like, I don't think that they're the ones who sent it late. I just remember seeing theirs and thinking, oh, Northern, I'll include them. And then, but I didn't want to say anything until I confirmed, and then I looked through and I'm like, no, it was Pickering that sent it. It's,
okay.
I just included Wawa for Northern.
Okay, so did we vote on that? Everyone in favor?
Mhm.
Okay, good. So now we're moving on to 7.4, establishment of Northern Ontario Policing Grant. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor John Paroff, second by Councillor Peter Kistemaker. And Jen, the floor is yours.
Whereas municipalities across Northern Ontario face disproportionately high policing costs due to low population densities, geographic isolation, and limited municipal tax bases. And whereas many northern communities rely on the Ontario Provincial Police, OPP, for policing services, while others operate municipal police services that are also experiencing significant cost pressures. And whereas recent increases in policing costs have placed unsustainable pressure on municipal budgets, forcing communities to make difficult decisions between maintaining public safety and funding essential municipal services, such as infrastructure, roads, water systems, and recreation facilities. And whereas Northern Ontario municipalities provide essential services across a vast geographic region while supporting key sectors of Ontario's economy, including mining, forestry, transportation, and energy. And whereas municipalities require predictable and equitable provincial support to ensure policing costs remain sustainable and communities remain safe. Therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne hereby supports the resolution of the Federation of Northern Ontario Municipalities, FNOM, calling on the Government of Ontario to establish a $100 million Northern Ontario policing grant phased in over 3 years to support the 157 municipalities across Northern Ontario served by both the Ontario Provincial Police and Municipal Police Services. Be it further resolved that Council supports a grant model that includes a base funding allocation for all municipalities with additional funding distributed based on population to ensure equitable support across communities of varying sizes. Be it further resolved that Council supports the province working collaboratively with Northern municipal leaders, including FNOM and NOMA, to design and implement a sustainable funding framework that recognizes the unique economic and geographic realities of Northern Ontario. Be it finally resolved that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to the Premier of Ontario, the Minister of the Solicitor General, the Minister of Finance, the Minister of Northern Economic Development and Growth, AMO, FNOM, and NOMA.
Okay, any comment on the motion? I put that to a vote then. Those in favor? And that is carried. And 7.5. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor John Paroff, second by Councillor Peter Kistemaker. Whereas all residents of Ontario have a right to fair, open, and democratic government, and whereas all elected representatives, municipal and provincial alike, in Ontario have a duty to faithfully execute the powers and trust placed in them, willingly swear an oath to this effect, and are subject to fair public scrutiny. And whereas the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act and FIPA and the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act and FIPA are essential tools to protect Ontarians against privacy breaches and abuses of power. And whereas the province of Ontario enacted Bill 97 to protect the Plan to Protect Ontario Act Budget Measures 2026, which received royal assent on April 24th, 2026, and introduced significant amendments to both MFIPA and MFIPA to alter statutory timelines and privacy governance frameworks. And whereas the amendments included through Bill 97 have created a jurisdictional imbalance by excluding records held by provincial ministers, their offices and staff from the application of MFIPA, while maintaining the statutory responsibilities and administrative burdens for municipal elected officials and staff under MFIPA. Thereby establishing a higher standards for transparency and personal record accountability for municipal governments. And whereas excluding members of the highest offices and their staff from reasonable public access requests and records retention requirements create security concerns, reinforces the appearance of self-dealing, and is contrary to public interest. Therefore, be it resolved, the council, the corporation, the township of Hornepayne calls on the province of Ontario to reinstate requirements for compliance with MF and FIFA to ensure that the premier, ministers, and all and their staff are subject to proper and fair public scrutiny, consistent with the standards expected of all elected representatives in Ontario. Be it further resolved that the government of Ontario implement the recommendations of the Information and Privacy Commissioner of Ontario to increase and ensure proper scrutiny, record keeping, and democratic accountability. Be it finally resolved that a copy of this resolution be circulated to the Premier of Ontario, the Minister of Finance, AMO, FCM, Bill Rosenberg, MPP for Algoma, Manitoulin. Comments on the motion? Go ahead.
They'll never change back, 100%. You can mark my words on that one. We're just wasting time and paper to send it, but I think it's appropriate to send. I followed this very closely the last 3 months and it's not gonna move,
Mm-hmm.
my opinion.
Any further discussion?
I believe they should send it anyways.
Oh, yeah.
I agree with
Oh,
you
yeah.
completely, so
I
I'm
did say that.
sure there's some that wouldn't agree with me. Okay, those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, correspondence information only. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor John Paroff, second by Councillor Peter Kistemaker. Be it resolved, the council does hereby acknowledge receipt of the correspondence information only package attached to the agenda of the regular meeting of council held on Wednesday, June 24th, 2026. And we have any comments on that? I do. So I asked them to put the Ontario Transit Investment Fund on the agenda. The government's opening up dollars, again, like, to connect with the Ontario Northland. There's, money available there. You can partner with, a private company that runs, the money flows through could flow through the province. I think at the very least, we should look at possibly doing a survey and a feasibility study and connecting us to Hearst and White River, to the Ontario Northland routes. And my understanding is Ontario Northland will do all the ticketing. So if it ends up being a cab that runs that portion to get them onto the bus, it's just part of their ticket. And Ontario Northland works with the taxi company.
We don't have a legal tax company here.
Well, that's where you can put it together and say, we need one, and we can attract one. The other thing that I did bring up at the meeting, and Ontario Northland was there, and I voiced this 2 other times, I think it's unreasonable to expect that Ontario Northland, which is supposed to open up the north, run at midnight, 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning. I know I brought up the bus schedules while we were chatting during the meeting, and one of them is like 2:30 at night. So you're gonna get in your car, have to drive from Hornepayne to White River, or Hornepayne to Hearst in the middle of the night to get on. And so anyway, they took that back. They were really responsive, and Michelle, who was there from Ontario Northland, said she'd like to meet with us and talk with us further about how we can get connected. So hence why that's on the agenda. And I'm not sure what the closing date is, because I literally got back from holidays and was in that meeting the next day. So. But I know the last time we didn't get involved, we missed out on this funding, and that's how Manitouwadge got connected to Ontario Northland.
That's what I saw, and I was wondering.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we definitely need it, because they do, just so people know, Ontario Northland does delivery too.
Yeah.
So there's other, it's not just. Go ahead.
So
Do you have contact information from Michelle from it?
Yeah, reach out to Heidi Trudeau at
Yeah.
Northeast Superior Smart Group. She'll get it for you.
Thank you.
So the map that we're talking about, if you go into the draft. That's where that map is.
The draft plan from back when Caroline Mulroney was the.
Well, it's part of the thing that you can go into. It's part of their presentation. And it's on page. It's figure 2, planned and potential rest area and highway improvements in Northern Ontario.
Okay,
That's what you said, right?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
quite a while ago, yeah, yeah, thank you. I was puzzled.
okay, so I don't know what we need for that. I just wanted to get it on the agenda. I looked to council for discussion. Do we want to have staff look into it and see what we could potentially have for funding? I just don't want to lose out on the transportation dollars that we did the last time and I know we did have discussions about a daily bus service to Hearst. And, but we need some numbers, like who would use it? Would people use it? And could it connect? Like, that's where I had said, like, if the bus came in during the day, then you could use that. You could go over, go for lunch, then get on your bus. But this midnight runs, it doesn't help Northern Ontario. And what gets me, and I said this, Sudbury, Sault Ste. Marie, Thunder Bay, all the way down into the Southern Ontario, I wanted to say the SOD, all the way down into the Southern Ontario, they have the infrastructure, they have cabs, they have things open, they have places to go 24 hours. On our bus, you're dropped off in the middle of nowhere, nothing's open. And if if something happens, God forbid, I'm going down to pick up somebody off the Ontario North Line in White River, something happens between here and Hornepayne, I have no cell service, I can't tell anybody, and the person's standing in the middle of the night in getting chewed alive by mosquitoes. So it'll be death by mosquito.
Or moose,
Or moose.
or bear.
Or 44.
Moose is gonna eat you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree, we should proceed to see what the staff could do as well. I said, mentioned, when you brought this last time, I really liked on-demand service. If somebody, because the bus will not work. I mean, if you have even a van that's 6 people, it will fail financially. But I said before, say it again, on-demand service, and we would be interested. I think that'd be beneficial financially to that individuals, I think.
Right.
Thank you.
Especially if we could attract a full-fledged, insured, I'm not sure what our status with our taxi
Right.
company is, but because we found that, just this past winter, I know for myself, I got stuck out on the line because there was no cabs left. Halcon was used up, Timmins was used up because it was 40 below and you were stopped everywhere trying to get people all over Northern Ontario and, yeah. So. So do you need any further direction for that, or is that clear enough? We'll bring it back, or?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, I put that to a vote, receipt of the correspondence package. And that is carried. Committee and board updates, round table. Wow, Drago, you can go right off the hop.
What's that?
It's the first and only thing. You're not gonna jump ahead.
Oh, yeah. I did when the Chair Farrell was meeting.
I
One out-
know, I watched it.
1 out of 3, that's not bad.
I got a good laugh.
Could have been 2 out of 3 in bad, but it was 1 out of 3. My library board meeting is coming up in person July 9th, and it's worthy to note that library under Darnell has an excellent report. I mentioned you were here. If you have a chance to look at it, the year-end report. Again, I'm impressed, and I think that speaks a lot of the report and staff. And also, Darnell mentioned that they will be part of the Canada Day celebrations. They'll be set up in front of Town Hall. They'll be utilizing the back, and they're quite excited about. She's quite excited about the Canada Day celebrations. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I noted that about the year-end report.
Excellent job, Darnell.
Okay, thank you, Counselor. Counselor Belinda Kistemaker.
Well, today I was part of, the LCC. I represented the LCC committee and was part of the audit out in the bush. So it was, interesting. I found it very interesting.
So what's
It
the
was-
audit in the bush?
It was,
Yeah, I was gonna.
What, okay, like, it's
So what I've
immediately
been
audit
talking
for me,
about
I'm like.
the last few meetings was the LCC is, or I shouldn't say that. The forestry group is being audited at the moment. They're looking at the audit group. That's why we saw Jeff today and with that GMR.
After, yeah.
I'm gonna let
FRND.
John explain it because I was with him.
Okay, so we're gonna defer to John to explain Belinda's involvement. You're the
So-
floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, man. So yes, as Belinda said, we were both on, it's called I was representing Hornepayne Lumber as Belinda was on the LCC. And it's a independent forest audit for the management of the Sustainable Forest License, our license here, Regarding Forest. Happens every 10 years, and they go through and they scrutinize every aspect of our forest management plan and seeing if we are doing it and following what we said we were gonna do. Then they bring it back to the minister, and he signs off on it, and they check Hornepayne Lumber, or the SFL holder. They also scrutinize Ministry of Natural Resources in what they do on this forest. So the amount of times they come out here and help us and work with us, and
Okay.
So Jane, like
Yeah.
Lane, she was, she's been hired as the auditor.
Yeah.
The third party, and she's in charge of this whole thing, right?
yeah, she's a
And,
lead auditor.
So I met her today, and I also did an interview with her last week, so, it's been kind of fun. So I've been learning lots, and the people who are doing the audit, I didn't realize this, I learned something today, they are actually, with the Futures Trust.
Yeah.
Forest Futures Trust, where we get our money from for our roads and bridges and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So they're actually in charge of this whole thing, which was the key thing I was missing. So all the information I send to them at the end of the month of what we're doing in the bush for stumpage rates and all that. Basically, they are the ones that dish out the monies to, help sustain the forest.
Okay,
It was good.
so it sounds like it was a good day.
It was a good day.
Yeah, okay, right on. Thank you for that, and thank you for the explanation.
And sorry.
I had no idea what you were talking about. I was like, what were you counting trees or what? Counselor
Yeah, I just
Stan?
wanna wrap my head around this, because it's very interesting. So they checked administration, if you have a plan, they make sure that you followed your own plan, I get that. What did they actually do physically when you go into the forest? Do they actually see that cut area? They measure the area? I'm interested to
Yeah.
learn that.
No, we traveled to numerous cutovers, old and new, not so much new cutovers, because it's checking the last plan. And we go to different sites to make sure their aerial tending was good. Their free to go program, their site prep program, their silviculture and harvesting, gravel pits, water crossings, making sure that they're all up to standards.
Okay. Interesting.
So it's a thorough coverage of what was out there.
Include,
We had 3 tours, so 3 different groups headed out and checked numerous blocks. I don't know how many
On
blocks.
the
but
Gagny Forest.
Yeah,
okay, I understand. Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you. It's different for me. That's why I like to understand it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Counselor Peter Kissmaker.
After all that, I gotta let you down. No, I drove by and seen them when I was at work.
Did you ask questions?
Yeah.
No.
And Counselor Barrow.
Other than that, no, I don't have anything else.
Okay, everything went well, because you did several different speaking engagements when I was gone and filled in for me, and I appreciate that.
Thank you, Mayor, anytime. I enjoyed it. I did enjoy it. It was a good experience. So I enjoyed it. So if you want to take more vacation, I mean,
Go right ahead.
go right ahead, you know. We got you covered.
Okay, I did.
But we are
appreciate-
glad you came back. Right, you know.
Well, I appreciate, that you filling in and, doing those things. I did enjoy watching, I got through the first council meeting and I did enjoy watching the council meeting without being there. It was entertaining.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. It was, yeah, it's that, that bird's eye view when you're not there. But, since I have been home, I did attend the 100th anniversary for the Legion. It was, super well done. I want to thank Al Creswell and, Lynn Kreger for coming to the community and for all the volunteers, what they did to put on just a wonderful day for the community, and the wine and cheese was just fabulous that night. I said it when I was speaking that night that I'm just always excited to go to an event that the Legion's heading up with Albina and all of the volunteers behind her at the crew. You just know it's going to be top notch, and it was just a great night, and it was beautifully decorated, and just hats off to all the people in the background that helped make it happen. The one thing I did want to suggest to council, and we can have this discussion at an upcoming council meeting, is 100th anniversary is quite a milestone for any facility in our community or corporation or organization. And I was wondering if council, if we'd like to have a discussion on gifting something, and we could do it at Remembrance Day this year to our Legion, either a commissioned painting or something that they can have for future generations to commemorate the anniversary. So if I can put that on a future discussion, go ahead, Grego.
I think it's a great idea. I think we should proceed, and I think it's, instead of delaying it, if everybody agrees, get the administration on to see some of the great ideas that could be there for many, many years. I agree with you.
Okay, if council's in agreement with that, we can bring back something, ideas of what we can do for that.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yes.
Okay,
Let's move on it.
and then this follows right in, we could tie this together. So I did attend the Masonic Hall 100th anniversary dinner. I was blown away by the amount of out-of-town guests we hosted in our community. I was glad to attend, and Catherine Lewis, the executive director of Hornepayne Housing, came with me. I think she was really pleased to be there. I know she was learning a lot about the Shriners, and she has some personal connections there because they've helped her family. So that was, it was really overall encouraging to see. The one thing I have to say was many people came up to me, our out-of-town guests, and were happy to be there and excited to hear about Hornepayne. And again, the volunteers, and I have to give a shout out to Dan Moore. So he's a member out of Hearst, and he was the one that set up the invitation in the background, worked and helped Hornepayne, did a lot of the gifts that were given away. And also this was in conjunction with their ladies' night, which they do a silent auction or not a silent auction, an unknown auction, mystery auction. And it raised over 7,300 for charities that they will give out to. So I thought that was good. Overall, I have to say the evening was enjoyable. I was so happy to see all the people that came from out of town. And I have to give a shout out to council and to the town of Hornepayne that we wouldn't have had those two events as well attended as they were, if we didn't have a hotel.
Yeah.
Like it was so nice to see. And they stayed, my understanding was the guests stayed 2 nights and then left after breakfast the next day. So yeah, so if we can look into, I'm not sure what communities do for associations. I think that would be appropriate as well.
Yeah.
And we must have more coming up. I'm not sure what we've ever done in the past for other, like, we're coming on to our 100th and we've got the foundation layers that are putting their 100th for us. So anyway, we need to acknowledge those cornerstone blocks in our community and make sure that we do something. The last thing that I want to say is that I did attend the Northeast Superiors Marriage Group by virtual. I was supposed to attend in person. But funny story, I went to start my really nice work truck, and because it had been idle or shut off for over 21 days, it drained the battery, and I needed my work truck to work right. I was back in holidays, so I had to stay home so it could run for 2 hours. So I couldn't drive over to Walla, but I did attend virtually, and yeah, and the biggest contributor of that was the MTO and Ontario Northline being there talking about the transit funding. So with that, the only other question that I have, I do have the information. Thank you, Jen, for the award for the high school graduation tomorrow night. The only thing I haven't received is I have not received any correspondence for Canada Day. So if one of the staff would follow up to find out if I'm supposed to be there or.
Oh, yes.
Okay, well, I haven't,
Sorry.
I haven't got anything on that, so just. Yeah. And I will say in advance, I possibly could have, because I did
No, it's
skim
possible
emails
that you
really fast. I was like, do I need to read? No. So it could have went into the garbage and I didn't know, and I apologize if it wasn't. But yeah, glad to be home. Okay, we're ready to move on. We don't need any resolution or anything for that. Okay. So we're on to 10, new and other business. 10.1 is a verbal update of the Hallmark Center.
So at the last meeting, there was some concerns about the cost, so I did reach out to legal counsel, and the response that I got, I'll just read it out. Thank you. I always understand council's concern about the cost before more time is spent on this. So this is the update. We now have dates fixed with the commercial list. The first attendance is for notice and service directions, and the second attendance is for substantive order vesting the remaining lands and clearing the remaining instruments from title. A significant amount of work has now been done to get this matter to this point. On cost, my estimate is the remaining legal fees should be in the range of approximately 15,000, assuming there is no unexpected opposition or major title issue that has not yet been identified. That would include finalizing the procedural materials, serving the necessary parties, attending the procedural hearing, completing any direction arising from the hearing, finalizing the substantive record, and attending the final hearing. So our legal counsel was involved in the original bankruptcy process, but this is not simply a matter of pulling an old file and filing a short order. The original bankruptcy is very old and the trustee has since been discharged, and the old court file is not readily available electronically to the court. So the judge has requested us to rebuild the record and put the necessary historical orders, title materials, service materials, and proposed relief before the court in the current proceeding. On the implied authority point, we got some on the implied authority, yes.
I just wanted to say, so this was in a closed session because it also included specific legal information about the bankruptcy and certain just things that could not be made public. So I'm not sure, Manuela, if you want to provide the public with just a background of what you're explaining.
The Hallmark.
Yes, but so basically that we are in the process of vesting it, and
yeah, I just read vesting, so yes.
You just explained it as like following as a response. So I just was trying to get the context.
Yeah, so the Northern Store and the LCBO portions were obtained by court order, just like the relief we are now seeking. So it's the same thing. So I obtained those orders years ago for those lands and the residential apartment lands for the HEDC at that time. So in other words, the route, it gets a similar process now. So That is the update. They're expecting it to be completed September, October. And it says my strong recommendation is that if the township has any plans for any part of the center, whether demolition, funding, redevelopment, transfer, cleanup, or simply eliminating future uncertainty, it is best to finish the process now. We are very close to getting the ownership and title cleanup relief, and it would be unfortunate to stop after the last 6 to 12 months of work and leave loose ends. So it's up to council how they would like to proceed at this time. Because there was question as to whether or not we should proceed at the last meeting.
Oh,
So,
okay.
Yeah.
And I open up the floor for discussion of council then. Go ahead, Councillor Stevanik.
Thank you, Mayor. So you're saying for this specific task, perform the legal firm will be approximately $15,000.
that's what they're telling us for the.
That's the upset
completion.
price. That's the maximum price.
That's what they're,
It
unless,
will not be 20,
unless
25.
Unless something
it
else.
says
comes
unless
up.
something is uncovered that they're not already aware of, like
Yeah.
something new. Unless somebody objects.
I don't know.
Yeah.
We're already in it quite a bit, but in the end, we get the hallmark, right?
Yes,
So.
Yeah.
I mean, that has value to it itself, in itself, right? So,
Well, we can't get any, just some background. I'm not sure what was shared last meeting. Obviously, I wasn't here and I didn't watch that one. I watched the one from May 28th. So we went to, Minister Rickford at the time was, the minister. And we discussed the Hallmark Center at a delegation. That was all public knowledge that we were going to ask about it. It came, back and, their advice to us, that's basically what we went there for. We weren't asking for money. We were like, we've got this monstrosity in our town. What do we do with it? How can we, do you have any advice? Can you work with us? What have you? And at the time they gave us a soft yes that said, there's $2 million, there's some matching dollars. You have to have ownership of the property before you can do anything with it. And previous to that, my understanding just from a previous administration and, council was that we were always advised not to own it. So this was a change. Yeah, this was a change. And then when we got back from that meeting, we do cover insurance on it. We have some sort of, insurance package for liability or something with the
Yes.
building, which we've been paying all along, even when we didn't own it. So, well, we still don't quite own it.
Yeah.
So my recommendation, I didn't hear, I apologize, I didn't hear the conversation, but I think we need to move forward. If we're going to do anything with that property, we have to own it. We have to be able to apply for the funding, go after the money. Follow up that conversation. We did have conversations with the Minister of, Economic, no, what is George Perry's now? Northern Development, is
And economic
George,
growth.
yes, so
Yeah.
George, the Honorable George Perry is now the Minister of, the same portfolio that Minister Rickford had held. He holds it now. And he said the same thing. And he actually said, if you want to revamp that property, you really want to link it to job creation. You want to show job creation in it. So, and we do know from the last time we were in it, we do have a high level report in our, archive somewhere that, showed that the high school portion of the existing facility would need extensive rehabilitation because the foundation pillars are gone right into where the middle part of the, library, right to that portion. And funny enough, at the time when we were upstairs, when you're upstairs of those two portions, the upstairs of the, high school was eerie to the fact it looked like people had just left. And that's the part that's really bad on underneath. And on the other side, there was grass growing on the portion that's still salvageable underneath. Like it was just this odd, but it really was eerie. And at the time, we did take some doors off hinges and things like that because there were some areas within that facility that you could get trapped in. There was a washroom, I think, on the 3rd floor. It was like, it had no windows. It has the 4th floor above, and there was just the one door. So we popped the pins out and took the doors down. But anyway, all of that said, we've had multiple people at the province. I think into the future, we have momentum to try and do something with that. We have people that are now looking at, you know, it might be a possibility for investment into the future, so I think, we should move forward, and I'm sorry I didn't hear all the other discussions, so. Counselor.
Yeah, Mayor, I brought up the cost, because we know how much we're paying for legal fees now for the last 2 years. And I want to be prudent with taxpayers' money.
Yeah.
I knew all the background that you're telling me. I
Mhm.
understand that. I knew the context you had. But I wanted to see the approximate number, not astronomical number, because then I'll make a decision as one member of council. But to me, this is acceptable.
Yeah. Well, and I think
It's a
too,
ballpark.
we need to, in the future with our lawyers, or any lawyer that we hire, is that we have a set out plan that, well, you come back to us then, because
Yeah.
this process, if you recall, council, was supposed to take us a year.
Mhm.
Because we did, it was a Roma conference that we presented to Minister Rickford. We gave an update at AMO saying, yeah, we put the process in place, and I think it's in an AMO package that they told us it would take a year, our lawyers. And that would have been in 2023?
You're telling me the government doesn't work fast?
Not the government, us, this is us and our lawyers, our legal
So
team.
I'll just bring
Yeah,
this
go
just to
ahead.
be fully transparent. We have been billed so far for this process 9,000. So this is an additional 15,000, so approximately 25.
Okay.
Just so council fully understands the numbers.
I
Go
wasn't
ahead.
here at the last meeting either, so I wasn't
Yeah.
privy to the conversation, but no matter who owns it, it's a liability to us.
For us,
Yeah.
Yes.
So that liability, the only way to mitigate it is you either try to rehabilitate or tear it down, but either or, you need ownership for the funding.
Yeah.
It's a big white elephant. It's a huge, like you described, the monstrosity. It was beautiful at the time. If I could turn back the time, I'd want it again because it was so nice. But this is the situation we're left with and we have to deal with it.
Yeah.
And I agree with Councilor Stefanik that the money in the legal fees is out of control, but there is an end to it.
Mhm. Yes, for sure. Go ahead.
I just want to also inform council that NOHFC does ask me regularly for updates on where we are with the Hallmark, and also the 2 million is 50% funding, so we'd have to kick in another 2 million
Mhm.
ourselves.
But
So,
it's with
so we'd have to,
Sorry, it's with economic development dollars, that 2 million, right?
yeah, the NOHFC funding, but we can stack it with other funding. And it's up to 2 million, so if we did 500,000 worth of work, our responsibility would be 500, like 250. If it was $1 million, ours would be 500.
But if we did the full 2 million, we'd kick in 2 million.
Yeah,
So
however we
4
get
million.
that money, whether we,
Yeah,
however we partner or.
but at least we have the options. Right now, we don't have any of those options. We can't do any of it.
No,
Can't
if
apply
we
for anything.
found someone to it, then through a lease agreement, we could have leasehold improvements as part of that 2 million. So it doesn't necessarily have to come from us, right?
Mhm.
It's,
Do you have something else, Peter?
No, I just thinking like, and then that was funding for rehabilitation, then we also gotta look at tearing it down too, right?
Yeah, like it's gonna cost us no matter what. It's like, we have to decide, right?
I think the frustrating part is we wanted this done like 3 or 4 years, or even 8 years ago.
Mhm.
We wanted it started and finished and we're still here.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, we're talking about that at candidates night,
Yeah.
about
Like this is,
dreaming big.
so,
Well,
Yeah.
so the update has been given and the direction verbally is just to continue on, correct?
yeah, we need to own it, to do anything with it, and the
Okay.
quicker the better. And 10.2, baseball field infrastructure improvements.
Okay, so I apologize, being on vacation, I didn't have time to write a report, but I can give council a verbal update. I'm myself, I'm questioning, whether or not we should move forward with this. I'm kind of sitting on the fence. So it is, new funding, that was brought to my attention by FedNor. They called me a couple times, and it's called, it's the Building Community Strong Fund, and there is a recreation stream to this fund. that would allow us to finish off the baseball field. And we need about $100,000 worth of work. I'm think I'm correct there, yeah, to finish off the baseball field. The association, the baseball association or league has a little bit of money, but certainly not 100,000. I looked into the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays baseball team has the Blue Jays Foundation and the Field of Dreams, which will help, but there's no guarantee. And the 2026 funding is done, so we would have to apply for 27. This Build Communities Stronger Fund has a shovel-ready component, and this is pretty much a shovel-ready project because we've already built the field. We need that exterior fencing. We have some drawings. We got quotes in the last week, and I could certainly get letters of support before July 8th. So then that would bring us down to 50,000. I got $1,000 donation, which would bring us down to 49, and the league would kick in a bit. So we could achieve this for a decent amount, probably between $25,000 and $30,000 instead of the required 100,000. But I need a resolution from council tonight to do that. My hesitation is that there's housing money in this fund.
Okay.
But we definitely don't have a shovel-ready housing plan.
Was it sent
This
to
fund
the
just got
housing-
announced.
to the housing corporation?
No, I don't know if they received anything from FedNor. I didn't send it to them. I read through it this week and found out that there was also a housing component, but how that works federal or if we even qualify, I don't know. And we're definitely not shovel ready on housing, I don't believe.
Well, that wouldn't be our call though.
yeah.
That would be the HHC's call.
No, they want like
So-
plans and
Right, but that's
like
like
architectural
regardless,
drawings
send it to them,
and-
they say no, and then,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, I'm not making that call at this table. I'd rather make it at that.
But I
okay,
think their
does it-
application would be separate from ours. HHC would do their own application.
Right, but do they know about it? That's
Oh,
what I'm
I
saying.
can definitely tell them about it, but if that's our only, if we're doing the application through HHC, then I don't see a reason why we shouldn't, through the shovel-ready portion, apply for the baseball field.
Yeah, that was my next question was, does it hinder you if you're applying for both? Like if
We can
as-
only apply one.
Okay, then we have a housing corp, and if they need to apply, they can apply.
So they can apply and we can apply, because we would apply as municipality.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Okay,
Yeah, so let's
Yeah.
apply to the baseball field.
okay, perfect. That's
Yeah.
all, and I think
I don't
Jen
know
has
if
the
that
rest. Go ahead.
Confusion was, but
I'm good. Yeah.
Okay, if I can get a mover and a seconder, please.
Thank
Moved
you.
by Counselor Kissinger, second by Counselor John Paroff. Be it resolved, the council authorizes the CAO to apply for the Build Community Strong Fund direct delivery stream for the baseball field infrastructure upgrades. Be it further resolved that council authorizes a maximum of up to 50,000 to be taken from reserves to cover the required 50% municipal portion. Are you in agreement with that, council? Okay, those in favor? And that is carried.
I think I can bring that number down, but
Well, we've got more.
I have a contingency in there.
Okay. Okay,
Thank
moving
you.
on to 10.3, council discussion, park washrooms.
Oh, so Councillor Paroff at the last meeting or after the last meeting, I can't remember if it was before or after, but had a great, couple great questions. So, because we are putting money into doing this washroom, and his questions were, who is going to maintain it? Who is going to clean it? How do we
Mhm.
prevent vandalism? Will it be locked up in the evening? Like those types of things. Or like, really the question was, should we move forward? And because these are my concerns, if I understand correctly.
that's correct.
So if council would like to have a discussion this evening about those things and how we might want to address them, my recommendation would be definitely lock it up in the evening. How we would do that, I don't know, do we lock it up at 4 o'clock? That would be 4 o'clock, the town staff leaves, they can lock it, or do we give a key? Do we limit it, so like when the library has a function at the pavilion, then they can have access with the key, or like how do we control it? So that's probably more internal. internal discussion, or does council want it controlled at all, or do you just want it open all the time? Like, they give us some direction on what your thoughts are.
Go ahead,
There.
Peter. Take a
I'll
stab
start
at
it
it.
off by, we have to lock it because as much as I
Yeah.
have faith in people in this town, it will be destroyed through the night.
Walk in the
And
evening,
it's too,
I agree.
yeah, and adding an extra cost, like our public works manager is saying, if they go home at 3 or 4, then so be it, and have a key. I love the idea they had for if the library is having a function, whatever, give those individuals access to it.
Yeah, or if we're having like the tree lighting, or
Whatever.
we have staff
Yeah.
there,
Yeah,
that's
but
different.
it will be vandalized.
I agree, okay.
Yeah, it's the sad truth.
Okay, any other comments? Counselor Stanek, go ahead.
I agree with vandalism, but I think you should give it an opportunity first before we assume it's gonna be vandalized. It's a public facility with public taxpayers' dollars. It's just like a few years ago, we had tennis courts and they locked them up certain parts of the evening. It didn't make sense to me. Never did, still doesn't. Other facilities I noticed, when I travel Highway 11 or Highway 17, I stop different parks and their washroom are open. I think maybe if we do some education of the public and the parents and the users of the park and give it an opportunity to see what's gonna happen. If vandalism occurs, yes, then, but I would not shut it before we even open it.
It's a good point. Yeah.
I kind of
Okay.
respectfully acknowledge what you're saying, but I do disagree with it. I do think you're asking for vandalism to occur in the evening, and it'll be a mess. So the cleaning staff will have to work extra hard, and I just don't see it. I think it's gonna be continually a big cost to manage it. I've been in those public washrooms on the road and I won't even go in there most of the time
Agree.
anymore, so.
Okay, Counselor Stanek.
Supplementary. The most of the park is used is not during daytime. Let's get real here.
Yeah.
I've been Parks and Rec all my life. It's used 3 o'clock and into 10:30.
Yeah.
So why do you build a washroom? We don't have it shut it down at that time when the greatest users will be in that park. That's my concern.
That's mine too. It's just because the kids are going to be at the park between 4 o'clock and probably to like 8, 9 o'clock at least. So I don't know.
Peter, you have a
They're
follow-up?
very valid points. You're swinging me. I know human nature, but you make a very good point and but when I say vandalism, I'm not put ideas in anybody's heads, but just people get, and the kids.
That's why they make those new stops. I don't mind, but
Belinda, go ahead.
My other issue is, well, my other concern is, has the staff talked about this? Do they have some input into this, or do they want some input into this? Cause they're the ones that have to deal with this.
I agree.
My personal opinion is it's a public washroom, it should be open. I agree, it'll probably get vandalized, but you know, unless they destroy it to the point where you can't use it, you take it out there and walk it. That's my opinion.
Wayne, go ahead.
There are electrical options too. Get Wi-Fi to the pavilion, possibly do a Wi-Fi locking system. And
Somebody answered it for you.
Also cost, but that washroom will have to be cleaned daily, probably more than once a day, well. So there is no staff to do that currently.
Okay.
Like, I don't know, do you think the summer students, okay, but that's only 2 months. Like, and so
And who does our cleaning here? Or can it be added to like a? just
it's
a
not daily.
Okay,
We
so,
get once a week or, yeah,
okay,
a couple hours.
Cleaning budget.
okay,
So we're looking at least an hour a day while it's open. And you can't bring somebody in for just an hour a day.
okay. go
My
ahead.
other question is, in the wintertime, would it be shut down, or,
I don't believe it has.
We don't have heat, do we?
we do not.
No.
Yeah.
okay, so it would be shut down in the winter.
Okay.
My final supplementary, final.
Okay, final, this is it.
Let's put the cameras on it. I mean, let's buy extra cameras and focus, let people be aware that the washrooms would be the key area we're looking at. And we gotta educate the public.
Dwayne, go ahead.
Again, we need a Wi-Fi system or something there, and buy another camera like we do for the popular streetlights. I have one pointing at the back of the building right now. You have to either have Wi-Fi of some sort there, or somebody record.
So you would know who came in, but you wouldn't know who vandalized unless
That's
only
it.
one person used it.
We bring them all in. It's not rocket science.
So,
Okay, I'm gonna weigh in
Okay.
on this.
Yep.
I think we, need to open them. I think the people that are gonna use them aren't there during the day. And if we built them, we should open them and
see what happened.
look at what happens. I do agree with Drago about, we need to inform the public. I think it's a celebration thing where we put out a mailing. We have washroom pavilions for summertime use at this location. We're expecting, the respect and that you're gonna care. This was, for your community, for the residents. And put some education pieces out.
Yeah.
And then, but within that, if they are vandalized, if we find they will be locked in on a per use basis for when that area is rented. But when you think about or utilized, but you think about all the children that use the skateboard park and the pavilion. It just doesn't make sense to me that we're gonna have washrooms when you can't use them.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
so we gotta take our chances and, I have faith in our community, actually.
Me too.
I do.
Thank
I
you.
think people want them open. And for cleaning, I leave it to,
It'll be late this summer before it's finalized. That's very good.
Excuse me.
We have a time frame of when that may happen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is the first I seen of this,
Yeah.
Savings starting next week.
Oh, so it could happen fairly soon that that the water gets connected. Okay,
okay.
okay.
Okay, so, the other thing too, are we able to put signage, about having respect the facilities or anything like that at our pavilion park?
Yeah.
And the other thing too is if we do get video cameras, we have a trespass now. And if you're messing around with our property, we can trespass you too.
100%.
It's all of our stuff. Take care of it. Like, it's all of us, I know when my kids were little, I would have loved that park.
Yes.
So. But at the same time, I do have some faith that they will respect. I hope so. Okay, and we'll revisit, I guess we'll open them this summer, monitor it, and then revisit it at the fall and see, and we can make a decision before next year in the fall, or for next year, so you're good to go in the spring. Sound good?
Yep.
Trial opening period.
Mhm.
Okay, moving on, we have, bylaws. 11.1. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Drago Spanik, second by Councillor Belinda Kistemaker. Be it resolved that bylaw number 22-12-26 being a bylaw to authorize civil marriage solemnization. Can you say that for me, please?
Solemnization.
Oh, my man.
Oh, gosh. Services for the corporation, the Township of Hornepayne be hereby read a first and second time, and considered read a third time, and finally passed. Or any questions? Sorry. Those in favor? And that is carried. And moving on to the second bylaw, a mover and a seconder. Moved by John Paroff, second by Belinda Kistemaker. And
Want me to
Jen,
read
could
this
you
one?
read it
Yeah.
for me, please? Thank you.
Here's all the bylaw number, oh, I missed that, 22-13-26. Being a bylaw to adopt a civil marriage solemnization services policy, be hereby read a first and second time, be considered read a third time, and finally pass.
Those in favor? And that is carried. Moving on to our adjournment, item 13, if I can get a mover and a seconder for confirmatory, moved by Councillor John Paroff, second by Councillor Belinda Kistemaker. Be it resolved that bylaw number 22-14 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at their regular meeting held on Wednesday, June 24th, 2024, be hereby read a first and second time, and considered read a third time, finally passed. Those in favor? That
One
is
comment.
carried.
2026,
What did I say?
2024.
Oh, gosh. Way back there. Okay, thank you for that, Jen. And if I can get a mover and a seconder to adjourn, moved by Counselor Dragos Panic, seconded by Counselor Belinda Kistemaker. Be resolved that council does hereby adjourn this regular meeting of council held on Wednesday, June 24th, 2026 at 8:14 PM. Those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you, council.